And now, the moment you've all been waiting for. You're tuned in to Tapped Out. Hosted by Brendan Tobin and Sean Levine. Only on the BetQL Network.
Here we go, round two, Tapped Out on the BetQL Network with producer Jake Nowicker and my co-host Brendan Tobin. I'm the sports machine, Sean Levine. BT, the Fiesta Bowl is coming down to the very end. Fourth down, TCU, 51-45, 35. What happened?
He fumbled the snap, dude. He fumbled the snap. McCarthy fumbled the snap, bounced right off of him. Eesh, that's tough. Tough way to go out.
And now, they ladder roll, and now they're doing some crazy stuff, and that's
sea
illegal.
Of purple is happy.
Yep, 25 seconds left, and TCU. Wow. TCU is going to move on to the national championship game. They came in as 7.5-point underdogs. Look like they're going to kneel on it here to finish this game. They're up 51-45. Man, I did a bunch of shows this week here on the BetQL Network. I didn't talk to one person that had the Horned Frogs. I talked to a lot of people that had them taking the 7.5 because anytime you can get a touchdown, an extra point, and a hook, that's pretty tempting. And the line kind of kept going up because everybody was buying in on Michigan. I can't believe the TCU, compared to, and I'm a Big 12 guy, right? I'm a KU guy, Rock Chalk Jayhawk. I can't believe this TCU team is one win away now from winning the national championship.
It's pretty nutty, dude. Like that's it's almost like an Alex Bejeda kind of rise for them. Nobody saw it coming, and now they have a chance to go and, I think Georgia's going to win, but I guess we'll see. And let me tell you one thing, though. If, Ohio State ends up getting to the national title game and Michigan falls short, oh, my God. All that trash talk that Michigan was able to have earlier on in the year goes away because they have a crack at the championship now. That's tough. That is but Michigan was their own worst enemy, dude. They took them forever to get going in this game.
Let me give you a scenario. Ohio State pulls off an upset against Georgia in a close, low-scoring game. Who's favored in the national championship? I mean, everybody was so high on Michigan because what they did to Ohio State, and I get it. That would mean that Ohio State just took out Georgia. The TCU, that might be Ohio State by 2, 3.
I'm thinking 4 or 5, but I don't think it's over. But I just think that they're going to get the respect over TCU. TCU's nobody thought they were going to win this game. A national championship with the stakes on the line, with this kind of stakes on the line. What do you think is going to be against Georgia? What's the spread going to be? 2 touchdowns?
Oh, yeah, at least. All right, so we're talking odds. Let's go ahead and talk UFC odds. I'm going to ask you a question. You tell me, what are the odds? If we see Ilia Topuria taking on Paddy Pimblett, I think we've seen chin high. Topuria looks amazing. I think it's a pick 'em only because a lot of money comes in on Paddy, but I dump my entire bank account on Topuria. I think he knocks him out.
I get your logic there because Paddy is so popular that people money will pour in on him. But I just feel like Topuria, seeing the well-roundedness of him, what a savage he is. I just feel like
Paddy's an underdog.
I feel like Paddy. I kind of feel like the jig is up after the last 2 performances. If you told me we didn't have the last card and they said, "Hey, what do you think the odds are for this?" Then I would say, "Oh, I think Paddy's probably even going to be a favorite going into that one because just people aren't on Topuria." But because of what he did and because of the way Paddy looked, everybody feeling like he got a gift essentially. Man, I kind of feel like Topuria is minus 250 on that. I feel like people are onto that already.
Yeah, can't make a lot of money on it, but maybe if you're on the Paddy side, this is your chance to. We've talked about Sean O'Malley's next fight. What if it is against Chito Vera for the second time around, right? Chito's been the only guy to be able to solve the riddle that is the Sugar Show. I think it's a pick 'em again. I know Chito's not nearly as popular. I would say Chito at this point is a little bit better fighter. He's already beat him. O'Malley feeling good about himself after that win against Petr Yan, especially if it's for the belt, right? If that's because that's what everybody wants to see O'Malley get. I think it's a pick 'em, but again, I think I put my money on Chito Vera.
See, this is an interesting one because if you're talking about a 5-round fight, I feel like that favors Sugar. I feel like that is where he can get off a little bit. He could stay on his range. Yeah, I like that for him, dude. And I feel like the odds would swing him on that way too, because as we were talking about, he's not only a popular fighter, but his last fight, I feel like he got a lot more people believing in him. Even if you didn't think that he beat Yan, his credit went up either way because people didn't think he was going to compete with Yan. at all, and he did. And so I feel like you talk about a matchup that he's familiar with. He's a smart fighter. I would lean Sean being a slight favorite in that one. I don't think I think that by the time that the horn goes off for round one, that Sean's going to be the favorite going into that one.
Friend of the show, Islam Makhachev, takes on Alexander Volkanovski, the pound for pound #1 fighter in the UFC. And Islam was a huge favorite. We talked about that earlier. Like, he's minus 300 right now at BetMGM. So let's say that Islam ends up winning that fight. And then let's say Charles Oliveira says, hold on, I want my belt back in 2023. So if we see Islam and Oliveira part 2, what do you think the odds are? I think Islam, he comes in as a favorite because he came in as a favorite the first time and because he won the fight, because that would mean they took out Volkanovski. But I don't think he's a huge favorite. Like, I don't think he's a minus. Is he a minus 300 against Charles Oliveira? Is that crazy? Yeah?
If he beats Volkanovski, maybe more. I feel like that could be like
minus 500.
I actually was thinking like minus 500. Yeah, I was actually thinking something like that because because here's why. Because like first of all, we already saw it, and that's like the first match of round. He dominated. Oliveira is already a guy who didn't get a ton of respect from the bookmakers. Islam does, and then on top of it, he's already got a win and then a win against Volkanovski. No, I feel like not only a sizable favorite, but I almost feel like it's such a sizable favorite. I don't know what Charles would have to do to get that rematch because it was just that lopsided. Like, he's gonna have to go on a run for that kind of a fight.
I disagree. Maybe he needs to win a fight, but I don't think he needs to go on a run. He went on a run. I mean, he took out the dudes at the top of the weight class. By the way, good work from our producer, Jake Noacker, finding on, I'm sure, some shady website, some odds if these fights do go down. Ilya Taporia versus Paddy Pimblett. You're right, man. Paddy, wow, you nailed it. Ilya would be minus 250. Paddy would be plus 200. So listen to Brendan Tobin when he speaks sometimes. Charles Oliveira and would be a minus 140, Volkanovski plus 120. All right, what if we see John Jones and Stipe Miocic? What if that's John's comeback fight? What do you think the odds are? Now we're talking about, some people think the heavyweight GOAT versus the GOAT, Stipe taking on John Jones. Of course, John moving up to heavyweight for the first time. Haven't seen both of them in a while, so you can't just use the excuse, well, John's had so long off. So is Stipe. Like, I don't remember the last time that guy fought either. I think Stipe, I don't know. What say you?
I feel like initially the odds would be very close, and I feel like people would come out and it would almost be like a pick 'em. But I feel like as the fight leads up, this is one where I think a lot of money comes in on John. The hype videos, people get a look at him. He's doing interviews. Stipe gives you nothing going up to fights. He gives you 3 words. I feel like a lot of money would pour into John, and I would see the odds flipping pretty favorable. I would say like minus, I don't know, 180, something like that. I don't know.
Again, I understand, John, but it'd be tough not to put money on Stipe at that point. If you can get plus 170, plus 180, and let's say it goes up to like 2-1 odds by fight night because of what you're talking about, because I agree, money's going to come dumping in on John Jones the closer it gets to the fight. So maybe you could get some good money on Stipe at that point, and you could talk yourself into it. At that point, haven't seen John in a few years. John's in a new weight class. John didn't look great against Dominic Reyes. Like, it's easy to talk yourself out of John Jones right now. All right, what are the odds?
I don't think I am going to talk myself out of John Jones. Like, if you were to tell me who would I be more worried about, like, first of all, Stipe's old. He's had, some vicious fights. Doesn't sound the same when he talks, dude. Like, that guy's been through some wars. John, like, he's just so built for his career being in chaos. I get it. We could go and we could talk about the fight against Reyes or Santos. They were razor thin. Maybe they could have gone his way. But I do feel like with him, when it comes to motivation and the fight really meaning something, that guy always seems like he shows up in just great fashion. And I don't think the age is enough or the time away is enough to deter me on that.
I'm trying to find Stipe Miocic's age, but it just told me that some guy named Michael Stipe is 62 years old. So hang on one second.
Who could forget Michael Stipe, dude? I mean, great center for the Cleveland Browns.
Okay, Stipe Miocic. Any guesses here? He is 40. Damn, he is old. He's a man. He's
Old.
40. Okay.
He's old.
All right. All right, Jake, how old's John, though? Let me know that one, too, because however old John actually is in human years, you got to
Sounds
tack
like, what,
on another
30?
at least.
Is he 34? Probably just turned
No,
34.
he's got to be older than that. John's got to be
Youngest
36.
champion ever. No, I bet you he's a lot
That's
younger
true.
than you think he is.
35. We'll split the difference. So he's 35, which means that he's 40 also because
That's
of all
nothing.
think of all the tread he's taking off his own tires, though. Come on, man. Like, they're both 40. John Stipe would be a great fight.
You don't
All
just
right.
get to say they're
What
both
are
40, and that means they're both 40.
They're not, but they kind of are. What if we see Usman and Leon again? That's an interesting one. What are the odds for that one? I think everybody agrees that Usman's the favorite, but Leon did knock him out. I think Leon still comes in as like a 2-1 dog in that fight.
I don't disagree with you, and I feel like I'm very fascinated by that rematch, dude, because you think about it, like Leon already took the beating, right? And still came through with, this unbelievable moment. Do you feel like he goes into this fight with more confidence and like more of a way to go beat Kamaru and more comfortable like getting off? Or do you feel like, nah, dude, Usman dipped into that and that was a fluke?
No, of course not. He knows the same thing you do, Leon does. That I'm not saying he got lucky. It was clean, but he was losing that for 23 minutes and 45 seconds. There's no way. Does he feel confident because he ended up knocking out Kamaru Usman? Sure. Does he think that's going to happen again? No. He knows the same thing that you do, and that's why he's going to come in as a huge underdog in that fight. Would you put money on him?
I think I would, though, because like
on Leon Edwards to beat Usman again.
If you're telling me the value that you're going to get, which is like probably going to be pretty significant, because I do think like
plus
you think like
people are, plus 260, yeah.
Yeah, I think I would, just because like you don't think Usman's going to be a little bit shook to take him down, like knee right to my face. I think it's just it's one of those things where you pull out a win after losing a fight like that. I feel like it's only up for you from then on, and it's not like Juliana versus Amanda Nunes, right? Where we were all shocked, but we were kind of like, well, that wasn't Amanda. That wasn't the best version of her.
Sure.
I know the best version. That was the best version of Kamaru Usman. Like, I did not get a guy who's diminished. I did not get a guy who didn't fight well. And Leon still comes out with the win. And so that's why I feel like going into just with the value of it, I'm gonna be betting Rocky on that night. I feel like that's the way I'm gonna lean. And I can say this is a guy who's a huge Usman fan, but I'm just looking at it and saying, come on. I mean, this guy already won and he was a huge underdog the first time around. Why wouldn't I roll the dice again?
That's the one where they're big bettors. Like if you've got that $10,000 bankroll, you put it on Usman, and then you win a few thousand, and you got a really good night in Las Vegas. I know it's tough to pay that 3-1 on a guy that just got knocked out, but it's probably worth it in my opinion. He dominated that fight. It wasn't even close. It is going to be. We are going to see that fight, right? Like you think we'll see that fight in this calendar year?
I hope so. I mean, I don't know how much there is to that whole him. I mean, we know that Usman is dealing with a lot of like this is a guy who, has had a lot of hand stuff. He has a lot of knee issues. He has a lot of physical issues that he just bears down and fights through. And he's a psycho. Like I've seen this guy in the gym, like he'll literally just be sitting there hitting the bag with one hand because my other hand's broken. And that's the dedication to greatness that the guy has. But you got to wonder, like, is he ready for another chase like that after being so close to the top? I don't know. And yeah, you have to worry about taking a knockout like that, just like you are with Masvidal getting knocked out like the way he did. Like, what is he going to be like the next time around? Does it change his aggression? Does he get more aggressive? Does he try and pour the gas on even more because he's going to try and make a point? I don't know, but I think that I have so many questions about it that I think I would go with almost the guy who came out the winner the last time around, even if it was a little fluky.
We're talking, what are the odds here on Tapped Out? If McGregor's comeback fight is against Michael Chandler, what are the odds? He's Conor McGregor. He's favored to win the fight, right?
I think so. I think a slight favorite, but I think he's going to be a favorite because I just think, first of all, Michael's record's a little bit iffy. Plus, you have the McGregor factor of just popularity. I think that
it's not even his record; it's who he's beat. Like Michael Chandler, you break it down, you go, all right, you beat Tony Ferguson, you beat the Hangman, like Dan Hooker. Michael Chandler, he's fun, but the more I think about that fight, I don't know about you. I'd put my money on McGregor. If I can get him at even money,
Jake's saying that it's a slight McGregor underdog. He's plus 110. That'll flip on fight night.
For sure. Absolutely. I mean, you talk about the money coming in late on John Jones. The late money comes in on Conor McGregor like you wouldn't believe. My money will come in late on Conor McGregor.
First press
you have
conference.
A couple of pops. Yeah, you're watching the press conference the night before. You're out in Vegas. You have a couple of pops. You're feeling good. It's fight time. The walk happens. You walk up to the window yourself and drop a little bit on Conor McGregor. All right, coming up next with a brand new intro and everything. The segment is called "You're Gonna Fight Me." You don't want to go anywhere. You're locked into the BetQL network.